Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your time to join us. Really appreciate you taking the time because time is the most precious resource we all have. So really appreciate taking.
Yes. No, my pleasure, and I appreciate that. You're right. Time is super valuable. It is our truly non-renewable resource.
Right? Yes. Trying to be more mindful of what I say yes to, what I say no to these days, knowing that, yes, time is precious. To get started, a little bit about yourself, please. What you do and who we are in a nutshell. I know it is a big question. Who are you? But yes, please.
Well, I'm Regine Nelson. I am a super multifaceted individual. Currently, I work at a company called Couchbase. It is a non-SQL database company of a little less than 1,000 employees, and I lead their internal communications and employee engagement. So that means all of the ideas and information that's going through the organization, I help to explain it in a clear and digestible way for our team members. And I also make sure that they are connected to all of our business initiatives as well as to each other. And outside of work, oh my. I am a mom of 3 small children who are all going to be in middle school next year. And we have 26 chickens, including 2 roosters. And I live,
I did not see that coming.
Yeah. I live in a suburb just outside of Austin. And you know what? I'm living my best life.
Oh, wow. 26 chickens.
Yes.
How is there, don't really know anything around raising animals. So how much of a work is that?
Well, for my husband and I, it's not that much work. Now, for our 3 sons, that's a whole nother story. They have to get up early every morning to go and check on the chickens, let them out for the day before they go to school, make sure they have enough food and water. And then when they come back from school, they collect the eggs, prepare them for sale. They do sell the eggs to neighbors, to families at the school that they go to. And so it is a thriving business for them. Thankfully for us, it doesn't cost us any money in terms of expenses, but we do get fresh eggs on a regular basis. And so our chickens are definitely, they're not pets. They are the employees of my 3 sons.
That is amazing. What a great way to teach responsibilities and independence and also finance. Yeah.
Yes.
Early age.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're now in 2025, been chicken owners and my kids chicken entrepreneurs since 2018.
That is epic. Wow. Recently, I published my second book, the book that over there. One of the chapters is about financial freedom, financial independence. Because at the end, I believe, at least for me, I'm working hard for purpose and all of that. But one of the reasons definitely is to achieve financial independence and freedom so that way I can do more things that are just aligned with my values and purpose and give back. But until you have financial freedom, you don't really have much freedom. That's how I see it. So I have 7-year-old.
Yeah.
A little younger than I think your boys.
My boys, actually my twins, my identical twin sons, they turned 11 yesterday. And then I have a 12-and-a-half-year-old. And, I think, financial freedom is sort of what you make of it, right? Like if you think like, when I achieve financial freedom, I'll be able to donate and help others, right? More. You can donate and you can help others now with even the little that you have. I do understand though where you're coming from the grander scheme of financial freedom, right? Being able to use your time more freely, for the stuff that you would like to do. But again, even right now, you can carve out some time to do more of the things that you love. So I think, yes, you can do more when you've achieved X, level of status for your financial independence. But I still think you can start living the way that you want to live in the future now, even if it's just small snippets every now and then.
Yes. Yeah. Definition of financial independence and freedom, all different for every one of us.
Yeah.
Certainly. And one thing that I learned through that whole thinking process, right, about financial freedom is that we don't really learn about finance management when we are at school at young age. It quite foreign concept for even many grown-ups. So love the fact that your boys are chicken entrepreneurs,
Yes.
learning all those skills early on. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
that's
Yes. Yes.
amazing.
Hmm.
Internal comms that I obviously have seen you active on LinkedIn and so
Yeah.
on. And I checked your profile and whatnot, did my homework, and I could see that you grew your career in that space, internal comms. What was the inspiration and motivation early on to get into that field?
Yeah, well, I actually started off in external communications. And, I even got into public relations because of a good friend of mine in college. She had a friend that was studying PR and said, you know what, Regine, I think that PR is where you need to be because it has all the elements of all the stuff you love to do. You love to talk to people, you love to write, you love to do events, and you love to travel. And at the time, I got an internship shortly after at a travel and tourism PR firm, which was one of the most phenomenal experiences of my life, being able to travel to exotic locations, to promote locations for folks to attend, getting them into Travel and Leisure magazine, etc. So
Sounds
it was
amazing.
it was a great start into my career. But along the way, I moved to a more traditional public relations firm that handled a lot of different types of clients. And I was fortunate enough to be placed on a internal comms project back when internal newsletters were becoming a thing that was removing itself from print based to online based. And so I am a whiz at Constant Contact because I've been using it since 2003 and I know how to HTML code as a result of that. And so that's how I got into internal comms. And I realized, unlike external comms, where it has a great position and place in business, internal comms really has a captive audience of your employees, of your fellow colleagues and team members. And I was able to really see projects and programs and initiatives move through the organization and see how the changes were affecting it. And so my comms had immediate impact, not just on employees' lives and how they see themselves within the organization, but ultimately also on the bottom line in terms of revenue and profits. So it was full circle. I had my own ecosystem to play in, and I haven't looked back since.
Yes. What would be the most memorable moment in your career so far in internal comms field? If you have to choose one, I'm sure you have many.
Yeah, I do have many, but I probably would say, my most challenging and my most favorite was launching Meta Workplace at an organization, right? Getting the senior leaders to understand that this was the wave to ride. This was going to be the future of the employee experience. And since most of our, team members as well as the world were very familiar with Facebook, it was an easy jump to go into a platform that had similar features and layouts. And so we got it, and employees were super excited to be on the platform, to communicate and speak to one another. This was when I was at an organization that had about 4,000 employees across 90 different offices, and some folks were remote as well. So it was a great time to be alive and to do that. And then now, as you may or may not know, Workplace is no longer a thing, right? They retired it last summer, and so it's no longer a thing. Now, I still think employee experience platforms will be the future, and they probably just won't look like Facebook moving forward.
Any platform like that at the moment that you are implementing or evaluating or using at Couchbase?
Yeah, so we're currently evaluating a number of tools at Couchbase. One that I am super proud of that we're going to be bringing on board is going to be an email communication and management platform. It's called Workshop. And so we're heavily looking into that one, although their competitor Contact Monkey is very comparable as well. And so I've used the tools at different locations, at different organizations that I've been in. And so they both have fantastic features that are applicable across different organizations. But I think for us, Workshop is going to be the one that we move forward with for sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you spoke at the Reagan conference recently
Yeah.
about DEI. I
Yes.
could tell that you are quite passionate about that topic, which I
Yes.
deeply resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
Want to share a little bit about that passion of
Yeah.
yours?
Yeah. So at the Reagan conference, I basically spoke about how to handle and still incorporate DEI and ESG concepts and initiatives within your organization, despite the current, climate globally, not just here in the United States. A lot of organizations are global in nature. And so while some of the rules that are applicable within our U.S. borders may be confining, the ones for outside of our borders are still open and still important for those different locales, right? And those employees. And so I talked about basic tips and tricks of how you can use the terms DEI and ESG without using the letters DEI and ESG, right? And so, and the phrases that you can use are constantly being changed and revised by this administration. So I still would advise people, while I encourage them to take out their thesaurus and start looking for alternative ways to still keep those concepts and those initiatives alive, I think it's good to just keep a pulse on what the government is saying is not allowed and how to work around those particular restrictions. But I don't think ESG or DEI are going anywhere. They're just probably going to be called by another name, labeled in a different way. But the closing thesis that I had for my presentation was the fact that, in order for DEI and ESG to make a real impact within your organizations and in your teams, you have to embed it somehow in your values. And so it'll be much more difficult to remove the D, E, S, G, or I from your programs and initiatives if it's not a singular or one-time event or program. So continuously weaving it within there will be the greatest impact that you can have.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Making it part of values. What are Couchbase's values? Corporate
Oh my
values.
gosh, Couchbase's values are dear to my heart. So, and our values are broken up into two different segments. Half of them, which we have six, are a way for you to be valued, and then the other three are for you to show value. So, I'll give you a snapshot of a couple of them, but serve your family as defined by you is a value that is very important to me because in my family, we travel over the summer internationally. And so the way I can serve my family while being an employee at Couchbase is continuing not only to show up as my best self as work, but doing it, let's say, with my family from Spain, like I'm going to be doing this summer. And so I get to enjoy a different locale, but still put in quality time at work and meet some of my team members that are abroad as well. But I love that. Another value that shows how you can show value is act with uncompromising integrity always, right? And so what's interesting about that one is we are an organization that we do we do a lot of good work and we solve a lot of hard problems for our customers, but we do it all with integrity. What we say we're going to do is what we do, and we also translate that into how we work with our employees, right? Our goal is not to act without integrity in everything that we do, whether it be with our customers or internally with our employees. And so I love that. And then lastly, I'll share one more of the six, and it's make tomorrow better than today, starting now. So that's what I was alluding to earlier when, you're looking at your financial independence and you're thinking, okay, tomorrow, you can actually start implementing some of those things to make tomorrow better today.
Very nicely put about, many of us live in the future and the past, right? I saw where was it? I believe it was one of the LinkedIn posts that how human psyche works. A lot of the times we live in the future or past instead of present.
Mm-hmm.
And try to remind myself, with especially young kid,
Yes.
obviously there are a lot going on each day, and each day is filled with gazillion things.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a moment where my daughter tried to come between my phone and my face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Mommy, I'm here, right? Because even though my physical body was present, there in her room with her, but my mind was elsewhere and she could tell.
Yeah.
So she did this to come between. Yes, and those moments need to be more present.
Yeah.
The present moment.
Yeah. Mindfulness is key, and the thing is, I find that as someone with ADHD, mindfulness is super important to me and in the forefront of my mind always, because I can tend to, multitask, like the best of them. But then, how well am I doing each individual task when I'm multitasking, right? So I try to definitely, when it's time to put my phone away or time to focus on what, somebody has says, I'm like, okay, phone down, let's do this, right? But then when it's time to work, I can go all in. So if you can kind of set a little bit more boundaries, then you can be all in both, just not at the same time.
Yes, for sure. Anything else that you do to increase more mindfulness? I'm trying to learn more on that these days.
Yeah. Well, so I am one of those extreme people that gets up early in the morning. I'm talking about, by 4:30, I'm already dressed and ready to go out the door. But something that has helped me with mindfulness is, periodically I will kind of try to see what sensations I'm feeling in my body. Sometimes, I used to be unaware of how to express my emotions or my feelings. My vocabulary was limited, to happy, glad, sad, and mad, right? And there's a whole spectrum of feelings out there that you can express. And so what I do from a mindfulness perspective, when I feel like either I'm feeling out of control, either emotionally or mentally, I take a deep breath, actually a handful of deep breaths. And then I do an exercise where I sort of tense up my entire body and then let it go a little bit at a time. So I start with my toes to let them go and wiggle them, then my ankles, then my feet. And then you can see as the tension starts leaving your body that you're here and present. And so that's something that my therapist shared with me a long time ago, and I found it to be extremely valuable.
Is that related to the 555 exercise that people talk about?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It
Mhm.
is. And I've tried the box breathing exercises where you breathe in a square. I find that super challenging. And so
Mhm.
and so this works for me. But in line with the breathing, right? So I'm a Christian, and so I read my Bible every day and I have a devotional. But I have a breath prayer book that I do. And so basically it takes scripture and you inhale a part of the scriptural thought and then you exhale the rest of it. And so I use that, to sort of box breathe, but in a different
Mhm.
way.
Got it. To that point, the health, like everything else in life, health journey too, I believe, all needs to be customized because we're all so built differently. Every
Yeah.
individual is different. One thing that works for one human being doesn't mean that it works for another human beings. Figuring out as we try different things what works for us, right? So yeah, that journey I believe continues. I will always continue.
Yeah. And you bring a valid point as it pertains to, internal comms and employee engagement. We currently try to make it one size fits all, right?
So true.
So, you have a video all hands, no transcript. You have a very long email or very short email. Somebody else wants more detail. I think that I'm really excited about what AI is going to be doing to help us offer more personalized content and communication internally based on different personality types, profiles, neurodiversity as well, because we're not all the same. We all take information differently, just like we all have different things that can potentially, allow us to relax, right? And to be mindful, etc. So I'm hyper aware of that as an internal comms professional, but also I understand, patience is also a virtue, right? Like we don't
Oh,
have
yes.
the capabilities now quite yet, but very soon those will be coming for us.
Speaking of diverse group of people working for an organization, and I assume that you have quite geographically diverse workforce. Any of initiatives that your org at current company, like Couchbase, or your previous positions that worked in terms of creating culture, even when people are all over the
Yeah.
place?
So, yeah, I have a handful of companies, including Couchbase, right, that do a really good job of building culture. I think culture was easier to build when people had to go into the office,
Yeah.
right? You could physically see people. Object permanence is a thing, right? Out of sight, out of mind. And
Yeah.
so I think, a lot of companies are facing some challenges with really getting people together because we are communal beings as humans. And so we build trust by proximity and activity, right? And so that basically means, the simple act of being in the same room with you and eating a meal. We may not even be at the same table, but I know you. Walking down the street, I'll recognize you. It's not the same feeling when you're remote because you're thinking, is that the person that I see walking down the street, or maybe someone that looks like them? I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to get rejected by that person if it's not. And so I think building trust and community in a virtual realm does have challenges, but it is possible if you are intentional, right? And I think the organizations that I've worked with that have done a very good job are those that have set not only opportunity, but also budget for folks to get together either outside of the office to do as small as an activity as, a coffee, a walk and talk, etc., down to getting together as a big retreat for the entire organization. So I think we have to I love being a remote employee. Don't get me wrong, right? But I do really enjoy going to our HQ a handful of times a year to be able to engage with people in real life. There is an office, an Austin office, which is primarily sales folk, just 15 minutes up the road from me. So I go there as well a couple times a month just to interact with people in the flesh, right? And so I think the more opportunities we have people get together in person, the better it will be. And I will tell you a funny quick story because earlier this week, I was at the, oddly enough, Running Remote conference here in Austin, and it was a gathering of people globally, about 500 professionals who came together to talk about how to really embrace and empower companies that are either hybrid or fully remote in nature or flexible work options, right? And my husband had told me about the event because one of his former colleagues was going to be there. And this was a colleague that worked with him at GitLab. And you may or may not know, GitLab is fully remote, has been fully remote from day one, right? And so I love that about that particular organization. But my husband had never met this person in real life before. And so, he's telling me, this is what he looks like. And I've interacted with this person on LinkedIn. But again, LinkedIn is a virtual platform. And so you can't tell people's height. Sometimes the photos may be outdated, et cetera, or may have a look that they no longer are sporting. And so anyway, I was able to connect with this individual, not knowing that my husband had never met them in person before. And so when my husband, when I got home and I said, oh yes, I finally met him, I shared a photo with him. He was like, well, you got to meet him before I did. And I couldn't believe it, right? So, and this is people who had worked together for years. Right. So it's definitely interesting when you can have something like that happen. But I think, again, it's going to have budget behind it to get people together. If you're not spending the dollars on the physical spaces, you need to spend the dollars on getting people physically together.
Yeah. Yes, certainly. Those very at the middle of, in the middle of COVID era, if we call that. We got together with the distance that was required outdoor in a parking lot. Even though we couldn't really shake hands or give each other a hug or anything like that, just the fact that we were together in the parking lot with mask on, that created the feeling of, we're still here togetherness. Humans are built, a way to gather together.
It is not good for man to be alone,
Yeah.
So
you have 3 kids.
Yes.
How do you manage multiple things about life, your professional life, your personal life, your family life? Do you have your own ways of managing them?
Yes. Boy, do I have my own ways.
Yes.
And I have to insert the caveat that I handle and manage all of this as I do with my entire life with a heavy dose of grace. Grace for myself, grace for my children, grace for the individuals that I encounter on a daily basis, because we are all just trying to live this thing called life. There was no handbook given to us, and every day is new, right?
Very true.
And so, so I have a handful of things that kind of, keep me going. Thankfully, the kids are older now, so they're able to handle a little bit more responsibility, although I do have to quality check some of the things that they do, like teeth brushing, for example. And we're
Yes.
getting into that young adolescent phase where deodorant is also becoming a bit of a challenge, a stinky one, if you will. And so, there's that. But I live and die by lists. So I have an application called Todoist that I put it has an inbox function where if you just have an idea, you don't know where you want to put it or some sort of to do, then I put it in the inbox and then I can go and check and put it in its appropriate place later. If it's something for the kids, I can put it under the kids category so I can add a deadline to it or what have you. So
I love
list
that.
management, yes. And that is my digital way of doing it. I have been a list lover since I was 7, 8 years old, just because it's a way to kind of get things out of my mind and into a physical place where I can kind of see and manage them. So once I write it down, I don't have to think about it anymore until it's time to work on it, as opposed to continuing to minor, did I do that or no, etc. But then also, to my husband's dismay and detriment, I have like 15 alarms. 15 alarms. He hates it. He hates it. He's like, you're going to bed. Why do you need an alarm to say, get ready for bed, right? Take your vitamins. I have an alarm that goes off. I had to pause it during this recording because, when I am on a water fast where I consume nothing but water, cold water, warm water, salt water, ice water, I drink a lot of water. But outside of that time period, I find it so challenging to drink water. So I have a 90-minute recurring alarm from the time I'm awake that says every 90 minutes, you got to drink some water, etc. And so I have water right here next to me. I'm going to take a quick sip. But yes, so the lists, the alarms, and then I have this ridiculous spreadsheet that outlines my goals by quarter. And they're based on the Michael Hyatt areas of priority. So there's 9 of them: family, intellectual, relational, etc. And so I basically have no more than 6, 7 goals per year. And then I put which quarter I would like to get that goal done. I think a lot of times, people start off with these New Year's resolutions that I'm going to do these 5 things, and you try to tackle all 5 things at once. That is not possible for me. My brain does not work that way. I will tackle one maybe, or I will give up due to overwhelm of trying to do all 5. And so I just break them out amongst the quarters, and I plan accordingly to what makes sense for each quarter based on what else I've got going on. But that's sort of how I manage it. I have right here next to me, my full focus planner and another Michael Hyatt tool, but it allows you to, lay out what you're going to be doing for the day, what your week overall is going to look like. And at the end of the week, you have sort of an after action review. What went well? What could you do to improve in the following a week, etc. And then for the month, you can kind of review how close you are to whatever goals you have input into it. So again, I love digital tools, but I still love having something physical that I can carry with me and to move forward. So that's a snippet. I could go into more details. Otherwise, this will be a podcast of how Regine stays organized. And I know that's not what this is about.
Yes, that the physical notebook is it how we grew up, or is it like human nature? I don't know. I think it's both.
Yeah.
Love having physical notebook.
Yes.
In addition to but the physical writing with pen on paper and seeing my handwriting in front of me, that is different from digital version of it.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Want to be mindful of your time. Again, time is the most precious resource. So if we were to end our conversation in just few minutes, anything that we didn't cover that you'd love to share with our audience?
Well, I would probably say that, I work in internal comms, right, as a profession. Although my role is unique in that while I am the organizer, the corraller, if you will, of internal comms within the organization, it is a part of everyone's everyone's job description, actually, to do internal comms. So I would encourage you, whether, you're in internal comms and you're a team of one, please note that it is not only you, it is everyone's responsibility, and working cross-functionally will remove not only a lot of the stress, but all of the potential expectations that you have put on yourself. Again, I'll close off with, man was not meant to be alone, and neither were internal comms professionals.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Because we hear from many, many internal comms professionals that the team size tend to be very small. Some rather large organization, only one person doing the job of internal comms. Yeah, beautifully said. How about Couchbase? How many full-time?
So yeah, I am in that situation as well. So currently I have a lot of tools that support me, but I am only the dedicated full-time internal comms person. There are folks who probably do 10, 15% of internal comms as part of their regular remit. One colleague, for example, works in the stock team, and so she regularly has to send communications about when the window's open, etc., and the trainings that we have. But other than that, and people who do things like that, I'm the only full-time dedicated resource.
Yes, man. Big kudos to you. I think that big hat to yourself.
Yeah.
Austin, Texas. Not sure when we're going to be there, but we will be there to host events going forward within this calendar year, I believe. We'll definitely keep in touch with you so we can see each other in person once again.
Yes, please do. And in Austin, if you are doing something in Reagan again in November, I'll be speaking at the Future of Comms conference. So if you guys happen to be around, I'd love to see you.
Perfect. Yes, definitely. Awesome. Thank you so much once again.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
We'll talk to you later.